For anyone watching, it calls upon this House to condemn the decision to move Terry Lynn McClintock, a convicted child rapist and murderer, from a facility where she was behind razor wire and bars to a facility that has kitchenettes, where children are present, and no fence. This is a woman who is a very short period of time into her life sentence. And in 2012 was convicted or pled guilty to violently assaulting another inmate. So what I want to do today is for everyone who is watching to give you the rebuttal to all of the talking points that are being used by the Liberals and the NDP in this House today. So, Madam Speaker, when people phone Liberal and NDP MPs, that they can rebut their talking points with some facts. So first of all, the Liberals are saying that Stephen Harper did this. They say that about everything, but in this case, the transfer from a maximum medium security prison where this woman, this vile, disgusting woman, was behind razor wire and bars to a healing lodge where there is no fence happened a few short months ago. As much as the Prime Minister would like to make this Stephen Harper's fault, this occurred recently. Now, things happen. It's what happens when you're in government. How you should be judged is your response to it. And the reality is that the Liberals have been hiding behind their bureaucrats on that. So that's mythbuster number one. Number two, they're saying that we need a review. Why do we need a review in this case? This woman is likely never to be allowed to be around children. She murdered and violently defiled a young girl. She has assaulted prisoners. She has this is not somebody that we should be affording a spot in a healing lodge that is normally reserved for somebody who is close to release. We don't need a review of this case. She shouldn't be in this facility. We should just be doing the right thing. Number three, this is about the role of healing lodges. Okay, let's make it about the role of healing lodges. Healing lodges are for Aboriginal First Nations people, which has been reported in the media that family members have said of this woman that she is not. She does not fall under that category. And I have seen people who are experts in this area say that a program like this should be used for somebody who is close to the end of their release. This woman is nowhere close to the end of her release, thank the Lord. And she is probably taking up the spot of a First Nations person who actually needs this treatment. So you can push back with them on that. And our party, this is not about the role of healing lodges. In this case, we're not opposing that, but we're opposing it being used in the case of this disgusting woman. Number four, this is about respecting the rule of law. Both the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice and Public Safety have talked about, and as well as the NDP, saying that there's not enough information, that this isn't the role of Parliament. Yet, I will note that the Justice Minister herself, after the Colton Boushie not guilty verdict happened this year, she stood up and tweeted, I am committing to ensure justice for all Canadians. So she commented on the verdict of a trial, implying that justice wasn't done. Okay, so she did that. Then she immediately met with the family associated with the case, and then she tabled legislation immediately to change the process by which juries are selected in this country in Bill C-75. So what I don't understand is how the Liberals can stand up in a trial by jury and condemn the decision of a trial by jury and then make changes in this place and then stand up and embrace themselves in the warm, fuzzy cloak of their bureaucrats. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, is that this government has intervened, and they shouldn't be using a double standard. They either are doing this or they aren't. The next talking point that they use is that they can't do anything. They're patently wrong on this. And for those who are listening, who are about to call their Liberal MP, as they should, here's what you can tell them. Under Section 6 of the Corrections and Conditional Release Act, it gives the Minister of Public Safety the power to issue directives in all areas relating to Corrections Canada, including what we're talking about today. And Section 96 of the same Act gives Cabinet the authority to pass regulations determining the eligibility of confinement. So, To give concrete examples where this authority has been used, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture, the current Minister of Agriculture, when he was the Public Safety Minister in a previous government, he reversed the decision to send a cop killer to a minimum security prison in BC using this authority. A Liberal government has already done this. And when Stockwell Day was the Public Safety Minister, he issued a directive that all first-degree murderers must spend a prescribed amount of time in a maximum security prison. The current Liberal government could issue a similar directive pertaining to child killers, and this would be fixed. The Prime Minister could convene a cabinet meeting to specifically deal with this particular directive, and this could be fixed immediately. This is not about a review. The facts are clear. The facts have been presented to the public. Everybody knows that this woman should be nowhere near a minimum security prison. It is completely up to this government to choose to do the right thing, and they are refusing to do so. The other thing that I know that they know that something's wrong is because journalists have been reporting that the lodge themselves, when they're being called to ask questions, they're now not releasing information that they have been in the past. So clearly this government is trying to intervene to make sure that this doesn't become a public relations disaster for them, when they should be focusing on the rights of the victim's family and ensuring that they're not re-victimized. And frankly, just going back to the point on the Healing Lodge, where's the Healing Lodge for the victims of this family? Right. I'll be honest with you, I will not stand here in this place on behalf of Canadians and defend the rights of this child killer who has been convicted and needs to have a significant penalty for her crimes, as opposed to we should be completely focusing on the rights of her family, of Tori Stafford's family, for justice for this little girl. This woman should not be in this Healing Lodge. The next thing that I want to talk about is they keep saying that children in this lodge is normal, but the reality is this particular Healing Lodge actually came under investigation from the Public Integrity Commissioner as little as 2 years ago, because employees had been bringing their children to this facility. So we already have problems with this facility where there are children there. This McClintic should be nowhere near children. They should not be normalizing this at all. This woman should be nowhere near children. She doesn't have children. She doesn't need to be reunited with her children. Keep her away from children. No children. It's simple as that. So if somebody's phoning their MP and they're like, well, the children issue, blah, 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 no. She should not be in this lodge, period. The next thing that comes up that the Liberals are using is they try to spin it, as they did this weekend. I was on a panel with, I believe, the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice. He's like, well, I'm going to chastise you because you're using inappropriate graphic language. The Minister of Public Safety went on a national television program and called what Terry Lynn McClintic did bad practices. Shameful. And we've given him opportunities to stand up and apologize this, but do you know what that does, Madam Speaker? First of all, it normalizes this activity. It says that this is bad practice. I feel like we should be reminding the Public Safety Minister over and over and over and over again about the disgusting things this woman did, so that he can get into his head that this isn't a bad practice, this is something that needs to be fixed. So those are the talking points, and I'm going to now appeal to my Liberal colleagues. Look, we can get angry with each other here, there are times, but just in your heart, put yourself in the shoes of this man, as he did when he was writing the Prime Minister this weekend. And do the right thing. To everyone who's watching today, pick a Liberal member of Parliament, and call them and respectfully and politely tell them to do the right thing. This isn't about partisan politics, this is about right and wrong. And to all of the bureaucrats in public safety who might be sitting in the lobby today, come on, give your head a shake too. This policy should be changed. This woman should not be in this lodge, and we should be supporting this motion to ensure that policy is passed to make sure that this never happens again. We need to stand behind the rights of this family. That is what we are here to do. That's what the executive branch is here to do. Madam Speaker, to everyone in this House today, this motion is a no-brainer. It was passed in the Ontario Legislature unanimously. Let's just get this done. Let's not make Mr. Stafford and his family come to Ottawa to have to protest this. Let's not re-victimize this. Let's vote for this. Let's do the right thing. Let's get this done.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Yes, thank you. Madam Speaker, in 1992, a Conservative government actually introduced healing lodges, knowing full well that medium security prisons, it was to complement them. It was to be something that those that are responsible for the administration of medium security prisons would have as a possible option. Fast forward it to Stephen Harper and the Conservative government just a few years ago, where they allowed and authorized and had no problems with the transferring of a prisoner from a maximum security prison to a medium security prison. No Conservatives stood in opposition to it. Today, they are absolutely outraged. My question is, on the surface, for many people, if they truly dig into some of these facts, would suggest that the Conservatives are using this as a political issue, Madam Speaker, because it was the Conservatives that brought in the healing lodges. It was the Conservatives that authorized the transfer from maximum to minimum security.
I just want to remind members that when someone has the floor, to be respectful, and I know that the member for Calgary-Nose Hill is very competent to be able to answer questions. The honourable member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
Madam Speaker, to those who are watching today who are preparing to call a Liberal MP, you just saw talking point number 1 and number 3. So I'll repeat my rebuttals. So when you call the government House Leader's or Deputy House Leader's office today, you can rebut him directly. Number 1, the talking point is it's Stephen Harper's fault. This occurred under this Liberal government, and they have the tools and authority to do that today. You can also tell his office and his office staff, Madam Speaker, that the transfer was a maximum medium security facility where she was behind razor wire and bars to a healing lodge without a fence. The next talking point that he used there, Madam Speaker, that people can rebut is that this is about the role of healing lodges. When they call his office today, they can tell him that a healing lodge is designed to ensure that people who are close to release, who have been evaluated properly, can get back into the community, who are Aboriginal, and to reintegrate. This woman is nowhere close to the end of her sentence. Her crimes were some of the most heinous ever seen in Canadian history. She's already assaulted a prisoner. There are children there. And certainly I think that we should also talk about the fact that she is taking the spot of an Indigenous person who might need that facility more than she does. So again, talking point number 1 and number 3, I can go do this all day, and I hope that everybody watching will do the same thing on the phone with Liberal MPs.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Peace River Westlock.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my honourable colleague for her great speech. Constituents have been contacting me over the last couple of weeks about the outrage that they're feeling about this particular case, and I find it interesting. This morning we had somebody from the NDP stand up and say that we used too graphic of details, and he was offended by that. I just wonder if my honourable colleague had any comments in regards to that. Thank you.
Yeah, member for Calgary-Nose Hill.
I had the misfortune of being on a television panel with the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Justice, who I would like to think is a decent human being. But he brought up this point as a way, Madam Speaker, this is a tactic that the Liberals use to spin away from their lack of inaction on this issue because they want to talk about something else, right? It's a classic diversionary tactic. The reality is that the Public Safety Minister was on TV and he called what McClintic did bad practices. I think that because we are standing here today putting forward a motion that no, we shouldn't have to be voting on this. They should have done this a week ago, that the Public Safety Minister needs to be reminded of the severity of crime that happened. And you know what, frankly, this is something that the victim's family has to live with every day. This is something that the media has reported on every day. And so to me, there's really no other reason, and for the public who are watching, there's no other reason that the Liberals are talking about this outside of the fact that they are trying to divert the debate away from their fiduciary responsibility to protect the public, to use the authority that they have to do that, and not doing anything. So, certainly I agree with my colleague, this is wrong, and I hope that my Liberal colleagues will do the right thing and support this motion.
Resuming debate. The honourable member for Lethbridge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank my honourable colleague for this presentation that she just gave. Imagine a place surrounded by trees and greenery. Imagine a place where individuals live in units with kitchenettes and fine linen and nice tables and